Good morning. Thank you for joining me. Are you struggling with your teen wanting to quit? I mean, how could they quit now? They've already spent all these years of time learning skills, and if they quit, what's it going to say on their resume? And what is it going to say about you? If this sounds familiar, you are in the right place. Welcome. My name is Allie Payne. I am a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach, and I have been helping parents and teens for about 14 years now. I'm also a parent of 2 older teens. If this is real for you, you're not alone. I get so many comments from parents saying, but they've been in this for 14 years, or they've been in this for 5 years, and our goal was for them to reach this top level, or to, reach this level of leadership, or our goal was this, and if they quit, they're not going to, then what? I mean, it won't, everyone's going to call them a quitter. Do you see where I'm going with this? If this sounds familiar? Okay, so let's dig into this first. Let's dig in. This is really hard as a parent. This is really hard as a parent, right? So your child participates in something, okay? They participate in something, and then I'm hearing from a lot of parents that their teenagers just aren't interested anymore, or they're spending a lot more time in their room, and they want to quit and they don't want to join in. Well, here's a couple things. I had a parent ask me yesterday, is it okay to gently motivate and encourage them to, meet this expectation of reaching this final level, or whatever that is in this club or sport or whatever? And I said, no, it's not okay. I know that you love your teenager. Of course you love your teenager. That's why you're here. You love your teenager. And I know that you want the best for your teenager. And that's great too. Here's the thing. Motivation is only an inside job. And I don't mean in your house. I mean in your teenager. So when you try and motivate your teenager because they're showing a lack of interest in previous things that they found exciting, they were passionate about, they enjoyed, and they just are showing a lack of interest in that, you motivating them. Motivation is about wanting to change someone. Motivation is about your agenda and what you want, and projecting that on someone else. And requiring them to be a certain way for you to be happy with them. Motivation is a thinly veiled expectation. And there's only 2 outcomes from an expectation. Number 1, you will be disappointed because your teenager will never do things exactly the way that you would like them done. And number 2, perhaps more importantly, your teenager will always feel judged. So I understand this last year has been extremely difficult for teenagers and for parents in a pandemic, pandemic schooling, and there's been a huge impact for that. And when you as a parent already see this huge impact on your teenager, and now on top of all that, they're wanting to quit things that they once enjoyed. As a parent, that can sort of feel like, well, if I let them quit this thing, well, then we're on a landslide, we're on an avalanche down to the pit of despair and nothingness. So you can't quit this. You've got to keep going on this. I can't let them. Okay. You don't have a motivation gap with your teenager. They don't have a motivation gap. They have a self-esteem and confidence gap. Now, here's a couple things I want you to hear about this. Many teenagers took a hit in their self-esteem and their confidence in this pandemic for a number of reasons, okay? One of them might be that online schooling was not at all suited to their personality style or their learning style, and they were once very engaged and got good grades, and then they didn't know how to function in an online learning environment, which might sound silly to you as a parent, but they're not suited for that. And then they really struggled and their grades went down, and maybe they're in summer school, or maybe they're repeating a grade. So that might be one reason. It might also be that because of a cancellation of a whole lot of sports clubs, extracurricular activities that they haven't participated in some time, that now as they're going back to those, they're having a self-esteem or confidence issue because they just haven't done it in a while. So that could be another thing. Also, what I need you to know is that in early adolescence, self-confidence can drop up to 30% in teenagers because of the growth phase their brain is going in, their lower emotional brain is fully formed. The upper brain is actually completely growing and forming, changing, becoming from a simple computing system to a far more complex one. And this lowers their self-esteem because they're literally in an identity crisis. Like they're literally, everything they knew about themselves prior to this brain growth phase is now shifting and changing. And it's very, very unsettling for teenagers as well, as they're figuring out who they are, but not with a fully formed brain. Like not like you and I would go do personal development or self-discovery, like not like that, because our brain is fully formed. Their brain is just starting to form the whole new complex computer that's necessary to be a successful and independent adult. And so that creates a lack of confidence. It also creates, yes, everything she used to be interested in. Yes, absolutely flawless. Yes, for sure. So it creates an identity crisis. And I need you to hear this, because what they once thought they did enjoy, or what they once loved, their brain is changing, okay? They can't stop it. It's not their fault, and it's not your fault. But that means that things that they used to love and enjoy, they might not love and enjoy anymore. Okay? And that is okay. So I'm going to keep going here. I hope this is helpful. And I've just got some notes that I have to stay on track, or squirrel. All right. So you trying to motivate your teenager, or like put your expectation on them that they keep going, or that they finish whatever it is. And I'll tell a story in a moment that, get to the highest level, or, reach all-star, or whatever that is, actually feels like carrying a 200-pound weight on your teenager's shoulders. That's what it feels like for them as they carry your dreams and your hopes and your expectations for them, that they no longer believe themselves. Now, part of that can be the lack of self-esteem. So I know if you're looking at me and you're like, well, Allie, if they're lacking self-esteem, then I need to support them and make sure that they don't quit just when they're in this motivation, they're in this self-esteem or confidence gap. Well, I guess you could think about it that way. But if you force them to keep doing something that they're not feeling really attached to right now, what do you think might happen to your relationship with your teenager? And is it worth that price? Is your teenager continuing to do their club or sport or activity so they meet your expectation of them? Is that worth the disconnection in your relationship with them? Because what your teenager hears and feels is, you care more about my performance and the kind of parent that makes you look like than you care about me. This is what your teenager thinks. Your teenager thinks you are making this more about you. You want me to keep going to this or doing this to achieve this for you, not for me. So you don't really love me, or your love for me is conditional. You only love me when I do the things that you want me to do. But when I tell you in my heart and I come to you and I tell you I don't like that anymore, I don't want to be that person, I'm not attached to that anymore, you don't listen because all you want is for me to do what you want me to do. So love is conditional. And this is what teens tell me, okay? This is what your teenager thinks, all right? Okay. I have a lot of parents say to me, but it'll look good on your resume and yeah, I know. Like if they complete their cadets or their Army Reserve or this level of leadership in Boy Scouts or Girl Guides or those are big organizations in North America yeah, of course. And it's okay. It's totally okay. Like I'll tell my own story here in 1 second. That there is nothing that is going to look better on your teenager's resume than them pursuing things that are important to them. And that shifts and changes. Do you know the average adult right now will change careers 5 times in their working years? 5 times. That's the average. So then why is it wrong or different for your teenager to change their passion after, say, 5 years of something, 10 years? Do you know the average family moves every 5 to 8 years? So then why is it unusual or wrong for your teenager to want to change what they're doing after every 5 or 8 years? Like, we have this expectation as parents that if they get into something that they're going to see it through. See it through. Because if they don't see it through, well, that's obviously a character flaw. I mean, that's a very serious character flaw. And, as parents, we got to stop that. Bananas. Okay, but is it life ending if they don't see it through? Like, we as parents project and we catastrophize. Catastrophizing means we are making up a story, because it's a story, based on all of our own fears and probably something that you were told as a child. I was terrified, you guys. I was told as a teenager going into the workforce that if I ever quit a job, it would look terrible on my resume and people wouldn't hire me. How well do you think that played out in my lifetime? Not well. Working for narcissistic bosses, but I was terrified to quit because then nobody else would hire me. Like it's batshit crazy, okay? But this is things that I was told from my parents. And so if you're like me, you have a lot of those stories and your parents aren't bad or wrong. I'm just saying we carry a lot of this stuff. And so we've probably made up a story, I did, that if my teenager quit something, they obviously are lacking in character. And therefore that makes me a bad parent. Do you see all the fingers pointing towards me? Like, what is this going to say about me? What kind of parent am I? I'm obviously a crappy parent if I have a quitter. I mean, nobody raises a quitter. Well, but are they really a quitter? Or is my teenager starting to figure out who they are and what they stand for and what they believe in? And maybe, just maybe, that's a good thing? Because maybe, just maybe, they're figuring out what it means to be authentic to themselves. Because when they're young kids, we direct a lot of their lives, right? It's our job as a parent to introduce them to different hobbies, activities, and help them find something that they like. And we're doing all the driving and we're driving a lot of it when they're younger, okay? When they are teenagers and their brain begins to change and shift, which is not their fault, it is their problem, okay? And it's a huge transition. It is the second and one of the largest brain developmental stages in our entire lifetime, okay? So when they're going through this, they're no longer who they were. They're no longer who you love and adored and miss. And it's okay to grieve that. But forcing your teenager to stay with an activity that worked for them as a young child, but no longer fits with who they are becoming now, it sends a message to them that says who you are authentically becoming is really not okay with me. I'm not okay with that. No, you're going to be who I know you were. You're going to be who I knew and liked. You're going to do because I liked it and I identify with this and it's part of who I am. So no. Do you see what ends up happening there? Okay, I'm going to keep going. So this is about what does this say about you? Now, here's my story. I'm going to tell you 2 stories and then I'm going to call it a day. Our teenager, my youngest, he started, he didn't like a lot of other sports, did not like a lot of sports, but he was really active. And I'm like, I got to find a sport for this kid. So I signed him up for Taekwondo when he was 6. In 6 years old, he went into Taekwondo. Unlike any other sport I tried with him, he flourished. You guys, he flourished. He got so many, he went into the competition stuff. He didn't like fighting because he's a little sweetheart, so he doesn't like kicking and punching anybody. But all of the patterns, doing all the, okay, I suck at that, but doing all the patterns and stuff, he won a gold medal in every single competition he entered for that because he was so good at it. He could memorize that. And when he was moving his body, that's just how he learns. He's a kinesthetic learner. Get him in his body and get him moving. That kid soared. So 5 years in, okay, he's 11 now. Actually, he was 10. At 10 years old, he could have tested for his black belt. 10 years old. He had only been in it for 4 years. And he went all the way from beginner to junior black belt. He, at about 9-ish, 9, 10-ish, he wasn't loving it as much. It was more of a thing to get him to go there. He also had another sport that coincided at the same time, so it was a little bit tiring for him. And he loves sports, but he doesn't love being overscheduled. So it was a lot. And Taekwondo is year round, okay? So it's not just seasonal like a lot of other sports. And at 9 or 10, he's like, yeah, I don't want to go. And we were like, well, we've already paid for this section. So, finish that. And we were kind of pushing. Now, let me just give you an idea of where my husband and I come from. A little bit of background here. I was athlete of the year in my high school 4 to 5 years. I won all the awards. I was all sports all the time. Super high competitive, which he's also competitive, okay? My husband is a 3-time Olympian and Olympic silver medals. So we're just a little competitive. We like sports just a little bit. So then my son finally decided he wanted to quit. One belt before his junior black belt. So essentially, it's like being one or 2 courses short of a 4-year degree, right? Like that. It's like, what do you mean you want to quit? Huh? No, you can't quit now. Okay, my husband and I went fully into our poop. And we're like, well, no, he can't quit. He's that close to the end. And you don't just quit stuff. That's not okay. And oh my gosh, we did all the things, you guys. We did all the things. We fortunately only told him part of all the things that were running in our heads. So just a wee bit of little shaming, just a little bit. And then we had to check ourselves. We checked ourselves and we had some deep conversations, my husband and I, about what was this saying about us and how attached were we to his performance based on our experience of sports and stuff, egos like that. So instead we came back to my son and we said this: we are okay if you want to quit. Now he was just about 11, okay? At the time, he was just about 11. And to be a black belt, just to give you this, to be a black belt, it's like a 6-month training. So you don't just go be your black belt. If you're gonna do the black belt, and the 6-month training only happens once a year. So if you decide just after it happened, you have to wait another full year commitment to get into that black belt testing, okay? So just a little bit of background there. So we went back to my son and we said, you know what? If you want to quit, we're okay with that. If you decide to quit, then that's fine. You can quit, and we love you, and we understand that this is hard for us, but not because we're disappointed in you. It's because we are so proud of what you've accomplished. We're so proud of how you took this on, and you've just like given her crap. Like, you've done so amazing, and we're so proud of that. That's the only reason that it's hard for us. It's not because we don't love you. And then we said this. We said, and you have to be really careful about this, okay? This can't come with a whole lot of strings attached and blamey, shamey stuff. We said, here's our concern. Our concern is that you are like one course away from a 4-year degree. He was one belt away from the junior black belt and the testing. And we said, our only concern is if you leave this now, we don't want you to ever wonder what it would have been like to complete. Now, I want to look me in the eye right now and hear this. We only said this to my son because he was one belt away from finishing. Not halfway, not 3 belts, not 4 belts. He was only 1. So that is the only reason we made this comment, okay? We want you to know what it's like for you in the pride in yourself to finish this. And we don't want you to ever question your confidence that you're going to stick something out. So we said, whatever you decide is fine. Here's our only thing is that you're not going to like now just sit around the house, because it was a 3 days a week thing, right? You're not going to sit around the house. You can pick another sport, and we will never ask you to go to Taekwondo again. We're going to drop it. We're not going to ever bring it up again. That's fine. Okay, so this was a conversation we had with our teenager. Then, he was a tween at the time, okay? He was 10. So he was only going a couple times a week, and this was in the fall, okay? And black belt testing is from January to June. The training is January to June, and the test is in June. So this was in the fall, and we let it be. He was doing other sports at school as well, and we just let it be. And I think it was about a month later, he came to us at 10 years old, and he said, I've thought about it, and I've decided to finish. I've decided to finish my black belt, and I'm going to do it. And we're like, okay, we will make a commitment to you to get you to every practice that's necessary and every training session for the black belt testing. And we also made a commitment because it coincided with other sports, so it was a lot. He went through, so that was in the fall, so that was 8 more months, you guys. 8 more months he chose to do this at 10. And in that time, he turned 11. He did his black belt test, and he passed his junior black belt. And we never, ever, ever have mentioned Taekwondo again. Never. We never paid another fee. We told the instructor he's never coming back. And the instructor was like, great. Oh, that's one thing I want to mention to you. When my son said he wanted to quit, we went and talked to the master, to the instructor, and he was so wonderful. The instructor said to us, he goes, it's okay. It's okay if he wants to quit. Boys, kids do this all the time. He can come back. Yeah, he might have to review some of his belts, but he can always come back. Lots of kids quit. And then if they want to come back, let them come back. Like, he was so wonderful to give us a better perspective than what we had at the time. So what I want you to know is my son decided to come back on his own accord. We got him to everything. He happened to pass. That was awesome. It was a huge deal. To this day, he still is proud that he finished his black belt. And to this day, my husband and I have never, ever asked him to go back. We've never, nothing. Now, I'm not saying this because your teenager is going to necessarily follow through. We gave my son that choice. He could have decided not to do it. And that would have been his journey. Not my husband and I's journey, his journey. And that would have been okay. Here's another story I want to tell you. My girlfriend had 3 daughters, bless her, 3 daughters, and they were in gymnastics. So you can imagine, okay, with gymnastics, first of all, it's not cheap, okay? It's expensive. Second of all, this is pre-COVID, okay? She would spend almost a lot of her times after school sitting in the gym, visiting with other gym parents, like literally 4 days a week between the 3 kids, okay? And after 5 years, her oldest gymnast, who unfortunately had been injured a number of times, she decided to quit. On her own accord, she decided to quit. And my girlfriend was devastated. Devastated. How can you quit? Like, you're doing well. I mean, I'll get you to physio. I'll get you to the appointments. And then you're the oldest. So if you quit, then are the other 2 going to quit? Like, what kind of role model are you? And all of these things she went through. And she was so lovely about outing herself and her own process in this, that I related to her, given that we had gone through this with my son as well. And she finally got to the hardest part for her was that she wasn't ready to give up this sort of, yes, Allison, she wasn't ready to give up this social life. She had made wonderful friends, and she got to connect with and see these friends at every gym practice, all these other gym moms. And she had to allow herself, please hear this, she had to allow herself her own grieving process to let go of a habit and lifestyle that she had learned to really love and got quite attached to. Now, whether that's your soccer parents sitting on the bench, right, Allison? Wherever it is, you are allowed to have your own grieving process. What doesn't work is when you take your grieving process of what you saw happening in your child's future, or what you are making up is success for them, which I'm sorry, you don't know, that then you project that on them, and it becomes guilt, and it becomes icky and messy. And that is the hardest part as a parent, is to allow ourselves know whose feelings are these? Whose feelings are these? And what is the story that I'm attaching to those feelings, such that I am trying to now motivate my child to do something that they no longer want to do? So, this is really hard. It's hard. And it's okay that it's hard. I'm just asking you to check in. What are you making most important? Your expectations for your child, which are projected experiences. I wanted to live through my kid. I'm just gonna say it right now. I did. I wanted to live through my kid. I was super competitive. I was an award-winning athlete, and I wanted my gorgeous little athlete to be the same so I could live through him. I wanted to live it all over again because I love it. Yeah, I had to let that go. He's still in lots of different sports, okay? And he still is super competitive. But his journey is not mine. I had mine, and I loved it. But trying to use my son to get to relive it is wildly unfair. Or getting your child to live or achieve something that you didn't have the opportunity for is unfair. And I'm sorry if you didn't have the opportunity to participate in things the way that you have worked hard for your child to. I am sorry for you. And I'm sorry if your parents didn't support a passion that you wanted to continue and didn't. I'm sorry for that too. None of that is your teenager's responsibility. Okay, here's what I want you to know. If your teenager wants to quit something, then talk to them first. And when I say talk to them, what I actually mean is listen. Get curious. Ask them, tell me about this. Tell me about why you want to quit. Not because you're making them justify it to you. Do not do that. You make it clear, I love you no matter what. I'm just curious. Like, tell me what's shifted for you. Tell me what's changed. Help me to understand. Not because they have to justify it. I can't say that enough. They don't have to justify it to you. Sometimes they don't know. Because remember, their forming brain, I don't know is a valid answer. Because I don't know is I can't put into words what you want me to say. And I can't put into words my feelings and thoughts about this activity, but it doesn't line up for me anymore. And that's all I can tell you. So it comes out as I don't know, or I just don't want to go anymore. Please remember that your teenager is devastated when they disappoint you. Devastated. And they will do something they don't want to do while building resentment and disconnecting from you if it means that they're not disappointing you. So be very careful of your tone. Be very careful of your questioning. Make it clear that you love your child no matter if they decide to take up basket weaving or soccer or be a YouTuber. Who cares? You love them no matter what. What matters most to you is supporting them in their passions and getting really curious if they seem down, or if something seems out of character or different than the way that you knew them to be. Then of course, as a parent, you're going to say, I'm totally okay with this. This is just different than how you've shown up before. So I'm just curious. That's all. Support them to take a break. Teenagers are friggin' exhausted. This pandemic it was a gut punch to teenagers. And maybe they just want to take a break. But if they take a break or if they quit, you do not go to them every week. So do you want to go back? So should I call your coach? Do you want to go back? Have you thought about going back? Do you miss it yet? Please don't do that. Please don't do that. It is their process. It is their choice. And if you are struggling with that, that's a you issue, not a them issue. That's a you issue. It is okay to grieve. It is okay to be upset. It is okay to be sad about what you thought was going to happen in the future and no longer is. But projecting your fear on your teenager about being a quitter, about not having something on their resume anymore. Yes, they're figuring themselves out. Yes, that they're not a failure. I don't know if you've ever changed your mind. Have you ever changed your mind before? Just curious. Teenagers are allowed to change their mind too. And just because their brain is developing and they're figuring out an actual identity crisis and who they are, doesn't mean that their judgment is less important. Because when you're telling your teenager that they're a quitter, or when we're not a group of quitters here, or, well, this is going to look bad on your resume that you only did you got this far and then you quit. Like, what are people going to say? Nobody's going to give a crap 10 years from now when they're heading into their career at 25 or whatever. Nobody's going to give a shoot. Let it go. Move on. Do your work. This isn't about you. This is about them. Get behind them. And remember, motivation is an expectation. So stop motivating your teenager. It sounds like you're not being the way I want you to be. Encourage them. Encouragement is, I love you unconditionally. I love you if you continue with this, and I love you if you take a break, and I love you if you quit. I love you. What else can I support you to find as a passion? Do your work outside of them. Don't constantly be coming to them and telling them, I really miss tournaments. I really miss the parents. I miss watching you play. Don't do that. Every now and then you can be like, yeah, I miss watching you play. You were just, I loved watching you. Don't attach your love to that performance though. Because when you say, I was so proud of you when, yeah, you were proud of watching them and you were proud of what they were doing. But be careful. Like, I love watching you succeed. Just say that. I love watching you succeed, no matter what it's at. And maybe They don't jump from one thing to another thing. My son happened to, because the season of the sports lined up, that after it was June that his black belt test went on, and then he took a bit of a break over summer and then went back into other sports. Your teenager might take an 8-month break, might be longer. What's most important is that they know that you love them unconditionally, that you understand that this brain development thing is a big deal, and it takes a hit on their self-esteem. So feeling like they're disappointing you is not helping. They want to know that you love them no matter what, that you affirm and encourage them outside of performance-related results. Affirm and encourage their character traits, things they do well naturally, and let them know that you're there no matter what. And do your own work if you need to let it go. Okay? So that's my summary today. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you have found this helpful, I am going to post this to my Instagram feed. Please share it with other parents, because we're all in this together. It doesn't matter if it's sports or something else, right? We are all in this together. Okay? You got this. You're going to be okay, and your teenager's going to be okay too. All right, I will see you next Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific right here on Instagram. And again, follow, like, and share. Mwah! I will see you. Absolutely. Bye.